Hello everybody, welcome back to the Marauders Guild and welcome to a review of Mandalorian Chapter 22, Guns for Hire. Now in this episode, we got a few crazy surprises, not really plot-driven surprises, but we'll get to that in just a second. But we're also going to talk about what this episode does in furthering the story that's being told in particular about Bo-Katan and her journey to retake the Mandalorian throne, or really rebuild Mandalore from the ground up. This was a really interesting episode in that regard, but also interesting for other reasons as well. So let's get right into it. So first and foremost, we're going to go over what this episode told. Now, we see in the midst of her journey to rebuild Mandalore, Bo-Katan knows she needs her old fleet. Where are they? They are currently working for a planet called Plazir. They're kind of their defense force by hire. They also been doing other mercenary work throughout the galaxy, as we saw in the opening of this episode as well. But currently, this is where they are. They're being paid to protect this planet. Why? Because it's an independent planet, and because it's being run by somebody who used to be an Imperial, they're not allowed to have an official military. But they are able to loophole it and hire people to be that military. The only caveat to that rule is that military actually is not allowed within the city, which gives us to the problem that we are facing when it comes to Bo-Katan and Din Djarin coming into the city seeking an audience with this contingent of Mandalorians that used to be working for Bo-Katan. Now, the one thing I can't be remiss in mentioning is who these leaders were. It was quite possibly the craziest cameo I have seen when it comes to Star Wars, that being Jack Black and Lizzo. I can't say that enough. Jack Black and Lizzo have now cameoed in Star Wars. They were in this episode. Jack Black playing Captain Body. I think it was Captain or Commander. I can't remember what his rank was at the time of me recording this, but it was Captain Bombardier. And then Lizzo played his wife, who was also the leader of the society. He kind of married into power, I guess you can kind of say. But this society, Plazir, they're kind of like Canto Bight in a way, it reminded me, but just a little bit more reliant on droids than Canto Bight was, and a little less gambly also. So the society, the way it is people who rely on droids. They rely on droids for all the remedial work. That way people can enjoy luxury. They can participate in what they like to call a direct democracy. There's really a lot of laziness. Think WALL-E. Think the people in WALL-E. Think like that. That's the kind of position they are in. And they're starting to have a droid problem. And they want Bo-Katan and Din Djarin to solve this problem before they can meet with the Mandalorians that they have hired to protect them. So in their investigation, they find out that somebody has essentially corrupted these droids on purpose. There is a cause to these malfunctions. And it turns out to be somebody they trust. Commissioner Hellgate, I think he was a commissioner. Hellgate was the person they entrusted, and turns out Hellgate was another cameo. It was Christopher Lloyd. So Doc Brown is also in Star Wars now. Isn't this insane to say? But Commissioner Hellgate was the one who was in charge of the droids. He threatened to unleash them on the public, but luckily the Separatists can't avoid monologuing, and Bo-Katan took that as an opportunity to take him down and arrest him. Now, in doing so, they were also granted the key to the city of Plazir, and Grogu was knighted. So now Grogu is a knight, technically. Not a Jedi Knight, but he's a knight. So it's kind of cool to see him get that title as well. Just a little sweet moment, I guess, just to sum that up. Just a little sweet moment for Grogu and the gang. That's a weird thing to say. But furthermore, Bo-Katan is now introduced or allowed to talk to the Mandalorians that have been hired. And of course, it's her old Night Owls, who are led by Axe Wolves now. And Axe Wolves wants nothing to do with Bo-Katan. You can clearly tell in his demeanor. Even when he asked Bo if you come join the mercenaries, you can clearly tell he had no intentions on letting her back in. I think he really wanted to sever that connection. But being a Mandalorian, when she laid down that challenge, that was something he could not refuse. Why? One, it was going to make him look weak in front of everybody else. But I feel like Mandalorians, especially ones who came up within this particular section, they are used to seeing challenges and they're used to wanting to step up. Think back to when Maul challenged Pre Vizsla during the Clone Wars. Like, they have stories like that circulating. So when you're challenged, yes, it's a thing of pride, but it's also a thing of this is what I've been waiting for. An opportunity to show people what I am, what I can truly do. So I found that very interesting. But they would incur in this duel between Bo-Katan and Axe Wolves. And you can clearly tell Bo-Katan had the upper hand in that entire fight. Almost everything Axe Wolves did, she had an answer to. It was very clear who was the leader and who was the apprentice when it came to the relationship between the two of them. Now, he doesn't exactly yield per se, but he does say something that stings to indicate that he doesn't want to fight anymore. It's the fact that she will never be the true leader. She does not possess the dark saber. And that's where Din Djarin becomes the key to the situation. He says she can have the dark saber. He presents the reason why. He was defeated. Remember a few episodes back when he got captured by that, a lot of people want to call it General Grievous. It put me more in the mind of Kazdan Paratus if you play Force Unleashed. That's just me. But when he was defeated and captured by that creature, she actually used the Darksaber to defeat that creature. And in doing so, she defeated somebody that defeated him. So, by rightful manner of the lineage of the Darksaber, she is the rightful owner. And Axe Wolves, even himself, could not deny that by our legacy, yes, she is the leader of our people. She can now possess the Darksaber. So now the last shot we see, very reminiscent of what we saw during a similar arc in Star Wars Rebels. When Sabine presented Bo-Katan with the Darksaber, she gets the saber and she activates it. And now she feels that power again. She feels she is truly on the path to reclaim Mandalore, to rebuild her people and bring them into this new era in the galaxy. I mean, if you look back on everything she has done to set this up, she has the Darksaber now. She has secured land for them. She has the Covet support. Somebody if you really think in her mindset, the support of somebody she would not have never thought would support them. I mean, that Covenant was considered so far off of the path of these Mandalorians that there was going to be like no real way to reason with them, I guess you can kind of put it. So it is interesting. It's really encouraging to see the journey that Bo-Katan is taking. And I also want to mention, it's very interesting to see this particular season kind of shift the main storytelling away from Din Djarin. If you really look at the scope of everything, yes, he's at the center of it. Yes, Grogu were at the center of the previous seasons, but it seems like the idea of the Mandalorian is not really Din Djarin. That this season, the Mandalorian is Bo-Katan. And maybe that's something we kind of expect. Maybe each season moving forward is not just going to focus on, who we consider to be the Mandalorian, which is Din Djarin. Maybe it's just that season is going to focus on a particular Mandalorian story as they kind of rebuild and go back to being who they were before the age of the Empire. So that's going to be kind of interesting. But we also want to look forward. We have a couple episodes left for this season. And we have the one big bit of information that we got the previous episode before this one is, of course, who took Moff Gideon. Now, I made a video just a while ago talking about that, giving some possible theories. Of course, I dropped ideas like Grand Admiral Thrawn, Imperial Super Commandos, Mandalorians, and we had a very particular one from Christine Hancock. She wrote in her comic, "It being Thrawn is a compelling theory. Imperials do keep stocks of Beskar, and planting a few scraps of it is an effective mislead." She would go on to write, if not Thrawn, or maybe in an alliance with Thrawn, it's possible the Night Owls may be involved. Bo lost them when she attained the Darksaber. They're still out looking for a leader. Now, we know because of this episode that it was not her Night Owls. They did go out doing their own thing, but it doesn't seem like kidnapping Moff Gideon was in their plans. So the idea of who took Moff Gideon is still a hot topic to think about. I'm still going to lay true that I think it's either Grand Admiral Thrawn or maybe a contingent of Imperial Super Commandos, or maybe both. Maybe those Imperial Super Commandos went to work for Grand Admiral Thrawn and they tossed up the idea of getting Moff Gideon to him. You never know. We have a lot of questions to be answered, but that's Star Wars. It answers questions and then leaves you asking a few more. So with that being said, we're going to get out the closing remarks here. Comment section, tell me down below, what did you think about this episode, Chapter 22, Guns for Hire? What do you think is going to happen as we get closer to the finale for this particular season? And just like the last video, who took Moff Gideon? Tell me that down in the comment section below. And the top comment, just like Christine Hancock's, will be featured in the next video. So keep an eye out for that as well. So if you enjoyed this video in particular, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already, and ring that bell as well to get notified about every upload here on the Marauders Guild. Until the next time, just like always, may the force of others be with you.